Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can find us all over social media on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, and you'll find us. If you're a big fan of the show and you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/HolyBatCast. And as always, a big thank you to our patrons. You guys rock. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You make our lives that much easier, and it is appreciated. We're also part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Real boring, but hey, makes it easy. So we are going to do a little more animation celebrating on this episode of Holy BatCast because we had so much fun doing it last time. We're going to review a couple more episodes of Batman Caped Crusader. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and throw in an extra animated episode just for funsies. So we're going to do another one for the Batman. What? Yes, we're going to go back to it. And joining me, he demanded to be on the episode the next time we talked about Caped Crusader. He's like, no, it's me, damn it. Jamie can suck my balls.
F that Preston guy too.
And Preston, I know, and you and Preston hate each other.
We have a blood feud, which I wasn't aware of, but screw him. What an asshole.
Anyway, you just heard him. It's not Jamie, it's Brendan. Hi, Brendan.
How are we all? By all, I mean you.
I am good.
Yes.
I'm good. All life is good. We're in spooky season. I'm feeling the spooky vibes. Just waiting on that kid to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's an impatient little bugger. He's going to be here before Halloween, I think.
It seems that way, which is why we're recording this. So honestly, if you're listening to this, he's probably already shown up. That's at least the plan. Plans change, but we're recording this early, so we got it in the tank. So that way, when that little bugger does show up, I can, have one that I can release where I can still concentrate on the new kid and making sure my wife is recovering and making sure my mother-in-law isn't going through my things, all important things.
And what about Harley? You missed one there.
Oh, she's fine. Fine. She's like two.
Just put an R-rated horror movie on in front of her. She'll be fine.
She'll just be watching the Halloween movies on marathon and be fine. So anyway, hi Brendan, welcome back.
Hello. Actually, just a little segue for a moment, because I hadn't told you this in our group chat, and I know you'll appreciate it. I got some cool shirts sent over from America a week or two ago, and one of them is a really nice button-up Michael Myers Halloween shirt. And I wore it for the first time the other day, and Henry's like, "You have Michael Myers on your shirt. I love your shirt." And then he's like, "And the Pumpkin Man from Ghostbusters," because Sam Hain from the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Cool.
That he's saying. Yeah. And then I put him in the car to drive him to daycare, and he goes, "Daddy, when can I watch Michael Myers?" I was like, "Oh, not till you're a big boy, sweetie." And he's just like, "But I am a big boy." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." You are a big boy. You're bigger than you used to be, but not until you're much bigger. But he's like, "I want to watch Michael Myers." I'm like, when you're older, but it'll happen. But your mother would shoot me if she knows that I'll let you watch something like that at 3.5. So let's give it a few more years.
I guess Harley loves Michael Myers.
Yeah,
I mean, she hasn't watched it yet.
No,
although last week, as of this recording, last week when my sisters were in town, we went to Universal and we all went and saw the horror makeup show.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't fully think it through, but I mostly thought it through. Harley was with us, but I'm like, it's mostly a comedy show and there's really nothing that scary. And also in my brain, I'm like, well, the one part that could be scary, like, it's far enough away, I don't think it'll be a problem. Well, we use our Express Pass, and because we used Express, they put us right
real close,
front row, dead center. And so most of the show was fine. Like when the lights would go down and they would show like movie clips, she would sort of cuddle into me, but she was fine. But everyone noticed that I had a 2-year-old with me at the horror makeup show in the front row, and they were all looking, and she was being real cute and she was talking. And so like the hosts loved her too. And so she was kind of the belle of the ball. They threw a little shade my way though, because they were like, well, this is what your parents get for bringing you to this show. And that would be me. but
Yeah.
mostly it was fine. But the end of the show, there's a big werewolf that comes out.
Oh God.
He never leaves the stage.
Mhm.
And again, if we had been just sitting regularly, it would have probably been fine, but we were in the front freaking row. And so this werewolf comes bounding out straight towards us. And that's when she lost it. And I was like, oh no. And I felt terrible. And she bounces back quickly, but everyone was judging me. And I was like, it would have been fine. It would have been fine. I should have realized in the front row that that was a bad idea. But anyway, it was hysterical.
Okay. That's, yeah. Along with all those parents probably in the audience, I'm just Googling child services Orlando at the moment. And
That's fine. It's not even like that scary of a werewolf, but again, it's kind of big. And
to her it is, yeah. She's only tiny.
Right. But
if it was the werewolf from the new werewolf movie, she probably would have just laughed. But
you can Google it in your spare time. But anyway, that was a fun little occurrence. But again, she and then as soon as the show ended, she was waving goodbye to everybody. She was all right. So
God bless
her. Anyway, you want to talk about some Batman animation?
Always.
All right.
Unless it's Batman Ninja.
Obviously. So, yes, we're going to do 2 more episodes of Batman Caped Crusader. And then, like I said, we're coming back to the Batman, mostly just for Richard Webster. He's the only one who cares.
I heard we're doing it on the last episode. I don't think he's the only one who cares.
He is. This is just for him.
I just think that, like when we were doing Batman the Animated Series, there can be months between reviews of those episodes.
We get distracted. Other things happen.
Penguin show comes out.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff. So, but yeah, it was funny. No, because he did say that on on Facebook. He says something about well, happy to be the only one who likes it. And then 1 or 2 other people were like, no, we like it too. So there you go. This one's for 3 people.
4 including me.
4 including you, Brendan. But first we got to talk Caped Crusader. So here we go. Episodes 6 and 7 of Batman Caped Crusader. Okay, this first one, this is episode 6, and that is Night Ride. It is written by Mark Bernardin and directed by Christopher Berkeley, and this is our Gentleman Ghost episode.
Did you count it for Scarathon?
I did not. I stopped counting TV episodes.
Yeah.
Because I keep my Scarathon list now in Letterboxd.
That's what I do. That's what I'm doing too, yeah. I was just lucky that the couple of TV series I've watched were on Letterboxd, so...
Yeah, you could put Midnight Mass in there.
Yes,
and that
exactly.
Yeah. And that counts as 1 installment. But yeah, if it's not in Letterboxd, it's just bonus.
Yeah.
I'll call this bonus. But you could count it. It's certainly ghostly.
Yeah.
It's creepy. It's ghostly. And so we meet this new version of Gentleman Ghost who is out there in Gotham robbing the poor. And he robs a charity truck, right? Yeah. And so Batman and Alfred are trying to figure out what the heck is going on with this ghost. And Batman's like, well, maybe it's not what he's stealing, it's who he's stealing it from, because there were a bunch of other places he could have gotten way more money, but he chose to steal from a charity. And this also, so you've got the Gentleman Ghost story, but there's also this whole subplot about the rich and the poor and the people and the help. And so I thought this was interesting because it it starts to address the issues that Jamie had with the show, which is he said, Bruce treats Alfred like the help, and I don't like that. What's interesting is they certainly acknowledge that in this episode, but they don't really resolve it.
No.
But at least they put that idea in there, which made me go, that's interesting. Then apparently it was a conscious choice. to do it the way they've been doing it.
Yeah, Bruce
Because
actually shows emotion.
yeah,
And he's
well,
scared that he's going to lose Alfred.
well, and when like Jamie brought it up, I went, "Oh yeah, I guess you're right," but it was something that hadn't really dawned on me until. But then again, this episode made it go, "Oh, he is treating Alfred that way, and they know it, and that's part of the story. It's part of the
Yeah,
arc."
like Lucius even has a go at him at the start of the episode.
Right, exactly. So yeah, he meets with Lucius, and he's doing well, and Lucius is trying to create some affordable housing in Gotham, and we find out that Bruce has like a slush fund that he keeps to himself, which is his little Batman fund. And he starts investigating Gentleman Ghost. Same time, Harvey Dent, he's dropping in the polls and he's losing the support of the working class. And so he decides to go out and make a big to do, riding the train and saying the working people are Gotham's lifeblood and I'm going to make sure the trains are running and they're clean. And when he's doing that, the Gentleman Ghost shows up and robs the train, and Harvey Dent, not much help. And so it ends up hurting him in the long run. And the ghost won't even take his money because he's obviously well to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know a lot about the backstory of Gentleman Ghost.
No, me either. Like I've seen him pop up like mainly in stuff like Brave and the Bold and things like that.
Like, yeah, I've seen him pop up here and there. I've always thought he's fun, but I don't know where he comes from. I don't know his deal. Not really. So with this episode, they give him a motive, a backstory, an origin. They give him all of that. I just don't know how accurate it is to what Gentleman Ghost had been previous to this.
Mm.
So that I think is interesting. Because I just don't know. Is it like, oh, is this always the backstory for him? Or did they make that up for this? Like, you know, and they're just doing their own spin like they're doing with Harley Quinn or some of the other characters. So, but regardless, what I think is very interesting about this Gentleman Ghost is the fact that they're really leaning into the gentleman portion of the name.
Yes.
Is that he prides himself on being a gentleman. He prides himself on being of, how do you say, better stock, you know, of being of the elite. And he looks down on people who are not. And so that's such an integral part of his character here that I thought was a really clever spin on it. Again, if it is a spin, because whenever I've seen him in the past, that's never really come up. It's never been where he is, you know, he prides himself on being better than everyone or being a true gentleman. Whereas here, that's very part of it. And I was like, oh, that's actually really cool and really clever.
Agreed. I have my issues, but yeah.
I love his look.
He does look cool.
I think the design is great. He doesn't look exactly like the Gentleman Ghost has in the past, but I think it's a great look. You know, it's very kind of Sleepy Hollow-esque. Maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I dig it. And, you know, I dig the animation on him and everything. So I actually really like what they do with Gentleman Ghost here. And so Bruce, at first he's convinced it's not a ghost. He's trying to dig into it. He goes to the library. He learns about the backstory of the Gentleman Ghost. And, oh my God, what the heck is his name? He has a whole name.
Oh, God. I'm blanking now, too.
Craddock?
Craddock, yes.
Yeah, Craddock. And so, yeah, it's like he was during the Revolution, he actually sympathized with the British. And so he was sort of anti-revolution and, again, you know, was of high society. And so as he fell out of favor, he started becoming the anti-Robin Hood of robbing the poor to pay himself. And then he disgraced the name. We find out the Craddock name has been wiped from all the history of Gotham City. And then when he died, he has now come back as a ghost. And so it just so happens that this land that Lucius is buying is on the Craddock estate. And so we meet one of the Craddock ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. Great. I think it was great grandfather.
Right. And so he still has a portrait of the Gentleman Ghost up in the house, which I thought was funny. I was like, wouldn't you take that down? I would take that down if that was the guy who disgraced my family,
Yeah.
200 years ago, but you know, whatever. And then the Gentleman Ghost appears and Batman goes toe to toe with him and he realizes he is indeed a ghost, which I did like that too. I was afraid that they were going to do kind of a Scooby Doo thing of like, oh, he's just posing as a ghost and it's really, it's old man Craddock from the rundown carnival or something.
Yeah, I'm of two
Oh,
minds.
you didn't want him to be a ghost.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I did have to laugh because it's like something with a Batman property with Matt Reeves' name on it that this isn't very grounded.
Well,
It's full on supernatural.
Well, thank goodness for Bruce Timm and J.J. Abrams, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. Like I love this cartoon, this series, but I love like in the next episode I'll be gushing because I just like I love that episode, and I've loved all the episodes prior. I don't know. I'm never a huge fan of when Batman goes up against like supernatural elements. I don't know. It's just not. It's not my preferred villains. Like, I mean, like in Batman the Animated Series, like I was never a fan of like the werewolf episode and stuff like that. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's cool. And I mean, I know you can do that sort of thing with Batman, but yeah, it's just not my preferred villains for him to go up against a supernatural ones.
I mean, in general, I would agree with you, but for some reason, in this case, it doesn't bother me at all. I think just because it's Gentleman Ghost, who is a mainstay.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. From like Batman the Animated Series, I didn't really like the werewolf one or some of those weird ones. So I know
they never had him
from.
going up against like actual ghosts. Like there were some supernatural things like Raz and stuff like that, but Raz is Raz. That's different. But yeah, like full on ghosts and stuff. I'm just like, oh, And there's another episode coming up that sort of goes down that route again. I'm like, oh, I don't know, but yeah, this episode and the one in the future that I just referenced, they're my least two favorites in the series.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So I totally know where you're coming from. Again, that isn't the aspect that bothers me about this episode. But what's so funny is, well, the last time we talked about the show, I even said, well, the Gentleman Ghost one I wasn't as crazy about. And it sounds like you agree, but we aren't crazy about it for very different reasons.
Yeah.
Whereas you're not into Batman going up against a real ghost.
No, I mean, look, there's parts of it I like. I like the Lucius subplot. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool, like him going out on his own and not just being, Bruce's boss, or not that he's Bruce's boss. So you're like the manager of Bruce's company, you know, buying land to give back on his own, off his own back and things like that. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know too. The fact that this was written by Mark Bernardin as well kind of just puts my nose a bit out of joint anyway.
Oh, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
No, so question then, would you have preferred it if it was a Scooby-Doo situation where Batman lifts his mask and it's not Gentleman Ghost at all? It's someone who's just trying to disgrace the name of the Craddocks and he's posing as this. He has some sort of technology that makes him translucent. Would you have liked that better?
Yeah, I mean, they'd already sort of pushed it too far anyway with him going through walls and disappearing and stuff like that. So that was never on the cards for this, but they would have had to change a few other things for that to be the case. I mean, obviously with the great grandson, whatever it was, like you automatically, when he comes in, you're like, well, it's him. And then the thing is, no, it's not. It's actually a real ghost. It's a tough one because, that is a bit of a trope where it's, oh, it's old man Willard or whatever, or old man Craddock. I honestly don't know. To me, I just wouldn't have gone Gentleman Ghost because you've got to do one of two things. It's got to be the whole Scooby-Doo thing, or you've got to commit and it be a ghost. And I really don't like either, to be honest.
Okay.
Speaking of the great-great-grandson, I did laugh when he and Lucius are fleeing the house, and Lucius is like, the first thing I'm going to do is tear this place down. He's like, please do. Even though we'd only been saying earlier that it kills him to sell the house.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty funny once he realized it was haunted by this guy. So he conveniently, Gentleman Ghost is like, oh, the way you fight, I think you're rich, so I'm going to let you go. And so Batman's like, okay, I came face to face with this ghost. And Alfred's like, there might be someone in Gotham who can help you. And they go find Papa Midnight. I only have the most passing knowledge of him, to the point where I had to look it up and go, I think he's from the comics, and he is. But I know very little about Papa Midnight. But he's like, yep, here's what you do. You got to find the deed. You got to burn the deed with the blood of a nobleman. And when you do, I want you to bring something back for me. And he gives him the vial, and he goes, you'll know what to do with it, which I think is a pretty big leap of faith there. I feel like you should give some instructions, because I would have never thought
No,
that the ghost would get sucked up into a little flask. I didn't think that would happen. So
absolutely not.
I would have failed. But anyway, Bruce finds out that Alfred does come from noble stock, and so his blood will do. So Alfred actually gets to play an active part in this adventure, and he and Batman go to the cemetery. I do love that it culminates in a cemetery. And
Well, actually, sorry, just to interrupt for 1 second, there was another sort of shot at the way Bruce treats Alfred too, because Bruce is like, I never knew you were of noble blood, and Alfred's like, we never asked.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
he never asked about Alfred. He doesn't give a shit.
Right. Absolutely. So they're going to banish Gentleman Ghost with the deed and the blood, and it seems to work, but then he manages to possess Alfred. And so Batman fights Alfred, and Alfred's like, kill me before he makes me kill you. And Batman refuses to do so. Fortunately, he's able to exorcise him by finishing the deed of burning up the deed. And then, the ghost becomes a big flurry of ghostly power that gets sucked up into that little the little
It's like a
vial.
little test tube, yeah.
Yeah, a little test tube. And so Papa Midnight's there waiting to get his vial. I did enjoy the Gentleman Ghost is like, you can't leave me with him. And he's like, what are you going to do with him? He goes, it's best if you don't know. So it's like, oh, he is going to get exorcised and sent to hell or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, oh no. And then we cut back to Harvey Dent cutting a deal with Rupert Thorne, right? That's
The very end. Well, just before that too, you get the moment of Batman / Bruce. Well, it's probably more Bruce at this stage, like, really getting stuck into Alfred about, what were you thinking and blah, blah, blah. And like really having a go at him and taking his feelings out on him in anger. And he has that moment of, you almost, and I almost lost, and I can't do this without you. And Alfred's like,
yeah.
I know, Master Bruce.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I wanted more of a resolution to that. But I guess if they want to make it like a season long arc, we'll revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, here it's mostly teased and it's not fully resolved. So the thing that you don't love about this, it seems, is the fact that, the ghost is real and you just don't like your Batman fighting ghosts. Overall, I think the episode is pretty good. I still like it because I like the ghost stuff, and I like the cemetery, and I like the Gentleman Ghost. And I actually think the story about essentially classism, both by, from the Gentleman Ghost and from Bruce himself, I think that's a really interesting theme to put into this. So there are things that I really like about it, but what holds me back is not once in this episode, but twice, a random character pops up out of nowhere to deliver this big exposition dump and give Batman all the info he needs. And then it happens again, 2 minutes later. And I was like, wait, we just did this. And it just felt like a very lazy storytelling shortcut.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't have to make Batman do any detective work if these random characters pop up and have all the info that he needs. So it just felt like a really lazy way to do it, and it bugged me. And I think I would have forgiven either one of them, but the fact that there were two of them just felt really, again, lazy. I just was like, really? This is what you're doing? Yeah. And to go back to your point, it's written by Mark Bernardin.
Yeah.
And Mark Bernardin loves to talk about how he's a better writer than every other person on the planet. Every movie, no matter how well regarded or whatever, he's going to tell you all the things that are wrong with it and how he would have written it better every time. It's why I don't listen to Kevin Smith's podcast.
Why I stopped listening. Yep.
And so the fact that he wrote this and he used that lazy device of just, oh, the librarian knows all about the Craddock legacy and is going to tell you everything you need to know about the Craddocks. And then Papa Midnight, who's never even been set up, comes out of nowhere and he's like, oh, and here's how you defeat a ghost. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe just take a little step off your high horse, because if that's how you're writing stuff, maybe you shouldn't throw stones.
Yeah. Yeah, the man that got kissed on the dick by Kevin Smith and now has a career. I don't get it. Anyway.
So yeah, so that's why I didn't love it. Is it's a lot of like just some of the lazy storytelling, and again the whole thing of like Batman comes toe to toe with him, and he's like, "I'm going to let you go. You seem like a rich person." And I was like, "Oh well, that's convenient. That's nice."
I'd be screwed.
Yeah, right. So yeah, like and like it's pretty easy to solve those things. Like introduce Papa Midnight at the beginning of the episode, doing God knows what. I don't know. They go to the bookstore for something else, so we at least meet him early instead of him coming out of nowhere in the third act. And then instead of library exposition, he can actually just find the info in a book. It's fine. Like anyway,
Papa Midnight could have been at the mansion when Lucius arrived. Because the grandson thought it was haunted or something. Like maybe like plant that seed that that's why he's there, and he's a guy who deals in supernatural stuff. So when Alfred's like, oh, there's someone who might be able to help, we kind of know who it's going to be.
Right. Or even at the beginning, have him show up and like warn about the ghost, and like they dismiss him because they're like, there are no ghosts. And then they kind of have to come back with their hat in their hand later on and go, okay, you were right. What do we do? Something. There were options.
I just wanted him to say, you build a nuclear accelerator and put it on your back and don't cross the streams. And that's how you catch a ghost, not in a friggin' vial.
Must be some cockroach. So anyway, overall, I still enjoyed it. I still think it's pretty good, but yeah, I think it was one of the weaker episodes, I think, for those reasons.
And that's the thing. I don't hate it. It's just that the other episodes are of such a high standard that there's just one or two that, the quality's just not like it's still a good Batman episode. It's just not as good as the episode surrounding it.
Right. Yep. So that's Night Ride, episode 6, Gentleman Ghost. And for anybody out there listening, if you are a Gentleman Ghost expert, Jay Yaws, you can let me know if this is a completely different take or not, or I could do some Googling on my own later if I remember. Odds aren't great, but maybe. Yeah, let Jay do it. That's why he's here.
Well, we keep him around.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there you go. But again, I dug this version of Gentleman Ghost, and that's why I still dug the episode.
Yeah. Are we doing letter grades?
Oh, if you want. I don't think we did last time.
Oh, didn't we?
I don't think so.
Well, I'd give this one a B-.
All right. I would go with a B. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Where we both were.
I'm a little more forgiving of a ghost than you.
It just depends on where it is.
Right. All right. Well, then moving on to episode number 7, Moving Target. This one's written by Adama Ebo and Adon Ebo. Huh. Wonder if those are, it's like a husband-wife or a...
Oh, the Ebos.
Yeah, the Ebos. I don't know. I don't know if it's a husband-wife situation, I guess. And directed by Christina Sada. So this is the onomatopoeia episode. So we got Kevin Smith connections in episode 6 and episode
Which
7.
is just crazy, because you'd think if Bernardin was going to write an episode, he'd get his buddy's character in there.
Right. So I don't know. But this is an onomatopoeia episode, the same way the Night of the Hunters was a Firebug episode. He's in it. He is certainly a part of it, but it's not just about him. It's about other things going on in Gotham, especially other things going on with the police department, because we've got Barbara and Jim Gordon. Barbara was able to help out a criminal. Jim's not happy about it. And they start having like this philosophical debate. Barbara thinks people deserve a second chance. Barbara thinks things aren't always black and white. There's a lot of gray in there. Jim is a little less convinced. He thinks that no, people know right and wrong, and good is good and bad is bad. So they don't always see eye to eye on these things. But as they're having this conversation, someone tries to shoot, and they
Not
manage
just
to.
someone.
Yes, exactly. Someone whose name sounds familiar. But here's the thing: it's
He
Floyd
missed.
Lawton. He missed. He missed.
Well, he didn't actually get a chance to shoot, did he? I think he got shot first.
Oh, did he? I thought he got the shot off, but I'd have to recheck. But yeah, Floyd Lawton, which I thought was a fun little detail. So I wonder if that's just like a fun Easter egg, or if maybe he will come back later. We shall see. But that was cool. So we find out there's a hit out on Gordon. This was only the first step, and they realize they've got to protect him at all costs. We know that it's someone in Blackgate, and he has now doubled the bounty. And so a bunch of bad guys are coming into Gotham to knock off Gordon, and that includes Onomatopoeia.
It seems like he's their leader.
He does, yes. He feels like he is. And I know even less about Onomatopoeia than I do Gentleman Ghost.
I read the comics where he was introduced. It's been a very long time since I've read them, though. I think it's kind of cool. To have it works in comics. I'm sure they did onomatopoeia in the Arrowverse at some point.
Did they?
I think so. And from memory, it didn't work all that well. I think it works here. I kind of like it. It's a bit of a funny quirk that, it's the character who talks in onomatopoeia. He talks in comic talk. It's, I mean, there's villains with lamer or not as, lamer. What would you call it? Like gimmicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I thought this version of onomatopoeia was actually really cool.
I like the way he looked, but his gimmick, I could take it or leave it. I didn't have strong feelings one way or the other. It was, I feel like there's got to be more to him if he's going to show backup, because there's just not a lot to him, other than the gimmick. So they are, they're trying to get Gordon to safety. He's not having it. He's like, no, because I'm not running. I'm staying right here. And eventually,
he made the comment of, I can't leave because what would Bullock and Flass do?
Right. He's like, if I can't leave them unsupervised. Yeah. And so there's another attack. They end up deciding they are going to go to a safe house. And on the way to the safe house, they get attacked on the road. So there's a little bit of a chase.
Well, I like the way they get him to finally see the reason too, because when Gordon drives home and he sees one of his neighbors and he waves, and then it's Barbara Montoya. What's the blonde cop's name? He's there, and this young driver, and she's like, they found out the info from Batman that more people are coming. They've doubled the hit, and he refuses to go. And Barbara's just had a gutful. She's like, Dad, you live, our neighbors are at threat. They could be caught in the crossfire. Like Mrs. Jenkins or whatever lives, she sleeps 8 feet from our front yard.
Right.
And Gordon sees, the kid's tricycle across the street and things like that. And he finally is like, okay, it's for the sake of others that I'm doing this, but not for myself. But it was really cool the way she finally got him to see the reason.
Yeah, that's true. Forgot about that. Thank you. And then, yeah, you're right. Batman is doing investigation on the side, and he's going to Blackgate, and he finds one person, and the guy's immediately like, it's not me. I'm just the middleman. I'll tell you everything you want to know. And so, yeah, Batman's beating it out of people to try and find out who's the one who's got the hit out on Gordon. And so you've got, like you said, you've got Gordon, you've got Barbara, you've got Corrigan, who is another cop.
That's right.
Yep. And then you've got a driver. And it's weird that they would just give this random other cop a name, Corrigan. I'm sure it's nothing. And so, yeah, so they finally okay, we'll go to the safe house. And then you're right. On the way to the safe house, they get attacked by some of these killers in a cop car.
Yeah. And I love that moment of realization of did you ask for an escort? Not me, I didn't. And then like Gordon's like, they're not our men. Like, it's just that.
Yeah.
So the cop aspect of this episode, like the cop drama side of it, is so friggin' good. I love this episode.
And in this, the driver gets shot. And they're like, we can't even call for backup. We can't even call for an ambulance because we just got attacked by folks in a cop car. So we don't even know who we can trust at the department.
Which fuels Barbara's argument of, we can't even trust your own people.
Right. And so there's even the moment where like Gordon says to Barbara, he says, oh, I feel like hired killers. Are those black and white? And Barbara's like, you want to continue this conversation right now? And so they realize they can't make it to the safe house, but there is this neighborhood going up. It is Wayne.
Wayne Gardens, I think.
Wayne Gardens. That sounds right. Yeah. Which is funny because
the road that it's on.
Dozier
Road.
Yeah. Oh, did you also notice that they also on the call they also said Wheeler and Nicholson?
No, I didn't catch that one, but I definitely caught Dozier.
Yeah, I don't know Wheeler. Do you know who Wheeler would be?
No.
But obviously Nicholson, and then Dozier was cool too. But what's funny is, so when I was watching this morning, I watched this one first, and then I went back to Gentleman Ghost just because I forgot the order they were in.
Yeah.
And the Gentleman Ghost episode, they give a name drop to Wayne Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lucius even says, he goes, oh, I know you have your Wayne Gardens project, but I'm doing this other thing.
And because Bruce wanted it closer to town, to the city or something.
Yeah. And because I watched them in reverse, I was like, oh, how funny that they set that up in the last episode. And I wouldn't have even realized it. So yeah, they go to Wayne Gardens. Most of it is all still under construction, but they're like, the model homes always get built first. Let's go find the model home. That's where they go to hide out. And that's where Onomatopoeia and all of his goons attack. And it ends up in this big, long shootout, fight, etc. I liked Onomatopoeia's entrance where he just went dun dun dun.
Yeah.
I liked that. And so yeah, we end up with this big fight with Batman taking on Onomatopoeia outside, but then Barbara and Gordon and Corrigan taking on all these different hitmen in and around the inside of the house, all while the driver's like bleeding out. And I kept being like, you've got to call an ambulance. I know it's animation, but I'm like, you've got to call an ambulance. Just because he got shot in the arm doesn't mean he's going to be okay. You need to get him to a hospital. Especially when he goes, is anyone else cold? I'm like, this man is dying. Somebody do something.
I think Corrigan's like, we'll get a house with a fireplace or something. He's like, I hope so.
He seems like a nice man who was just driving the car and he's bleeding out, and I'm very concerned. But anyway, in this fight, I thought it was interesting that Barbara knows how to fight.
Yeah.
She's able to hold her own. Yeah. So again, last time we talked about this, I was like, you think she's going to be Batgirl? And we're both like, I don't know. But we know she can handle herself, so maybe that's another clue.
It was a good fight too.
I'll be honest, it went a little long and my mind started to wander.
Okay, I liked it. The fight.
I thought it was cool. I got a little bored with it, like with all of it, because again, I feel like it was really long. Like with everything, like the whole raid on the house was a bit long, and yeah, I got a little distracted. But they managed to like stop everybody, and then Corrigan turns on them, and it turns out, yep.
Well, yeah, that's the big twist and reveal is Batman takes out Onomatopoeia and says to James Gordon that, like, this is it. It's over. The hit's been removed. No one else is coming. And then James says something and Batman's like, but the hit was never for you. Like, it was never, it was never put on you.
Yeah. Right.
And then you have that moment of realization of like, what the hell? And then it cuts to Barbara and Corrigan in the kitchen, and you just hear the click of the gun behind Barbara's head, and Corrigan's just like, look, I don't want to do this, but it's just so much money. And I loved how it all ties back to the argument that Barbara and Jim were having, where, she believes in rehabilitation and tries to cure these people, and jail time's not always the answer. She genuinely believes it. And obviously Jim's the other way. It's like, no, people are bad. They do the wrong thing. They get jail time. That's how it is. And, the guy who put the hit out, he's pissed at Barbara because she couldn't get him a deal. Well, and it turns out they have a conversation in the end where she's like, I got you the best deal I could. And he's just like, you call this a deal? Like, yeah, I made some mistakes, but I don't belong here. I'm not like these other people. And it's like, well, yeah, you are. You've just proven that you are. And it's that whole moral dilemma that sets up at the start. I love, because I didn't see it coming that the hit was on Barbara.
That's what I was going to ask, because I totally did.
Oh, really? I did.
Oh, yeah. From the very beginning, when Floyd shoots, I was like, oh, who is he aiming at? Like,
honestly, I didn't see it coming at all.
Oh, yeah. It was a twist that I saw it coming from the moment it started.
That's why I loved this episode, because I did not see it coming.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was great. It worked on me. Absolutely. And Jess was the same. But when we first watched this a couple of months ago, we were both just like, holy shit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, got me hook, line, and sinker.
Okay. Yeah, when I watched it, I mean, obviously I watched it a second time today in prep for this, but when I watched it the first time, from the moment I was like, wait, why are they all assuming it's Jim? Like from the very beginning.
What's funny is I actually, because I'd only seen it the once, I forgot that the twist was that it was Barbara. I just remembered that Corrigan was bad. And for some reason in my mind, it was like, no, he made a move on Jim. And then when Batman said it again, of like, no, it wasn't you. It wasn't on you. And I was like, shit, that's right. I totally forgot. And it got me again.
Oh, wow. Good.
Maybe I'm stupid. I don't know.
No, I'm usually not good at that, but for whatever reason, this one, I picked up on it right away, but yeah, it's fine. I was wondering why you were so high on this one, because I think I like it fine, but I didn't love it. It was okay.
I think I just really liked the fact that it was the one story and we were seeing it being investigated from both angles. Like, we were seeing the police procedural side of it. And then we were really seeing the vigilante side of it too, where Batman could get the information that they wouldn't be able to. And they were working in tandem without really working in tandem. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a deliberately, let's work this out together. It's just Batman did what he could do and the cops are doing what they could do. And it all culminated in, like I said, for me, a twist that I didn't see coming. I thought it was really, I don't know, just this episode really jumped out at me. I loved it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought you were a big Onomatopoeia fan.
No, not even that. Like I said, I think his little gimmick's cool, but I mean, that could have been anyone. It didn't have to be onomatopoeia. It could have been just, a random goon who we've never heard of. The fact that they made it onomatopoeia, I thought was, a nice little touch. Someone we've never seen in a Batman cartoon before. But yeah, like I said, it just worked for me, man. I loved it.
Interesting. Well, what I like what you're saying about, I think it's interesting, the conversation or the debate between Barbara and Jim. I think it's disappointing that by the end, it seems to think that Jim is right and Barbara is wrong. I would have preferred that, obviously something happened to Barbara where it made her rethink her stance, but I wish something would have happened to Jim to make him rethink his stance. So that way they both could have seen that the other one had a point. But instead, the ending is kind of cynical, which is like, nope, everyone's bad. He was right. See what happened, Barbara? You tried to help this person and he tried to have you killed. It just is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I honestly hadn't thought of that aspect of it. I don't know, the way they set this Barbara up, though, I don't think it's going to change her resolve at all. I still think she's going to, do what she can to help everyone as best she can.
Yeah.
Because she just seems that, not stubborn's not the right word, but she genuinely believes it. To me, it was more, I think she just realized that, maybe sometimes her dad is right, not he's right and I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It might have, to me, it would be more a case of she's now seeing both sides rather than just hers is the right way.
Okay. Well, all right. That's a moving target. So it seems like this is like your favorite episode, or is it just one of your favorites?
One of my favorites. there's some episodes coming up that are pretty bloody good.
All right. I still haven't watched 9 and 10. I've watched up through 8.
They're the two coming up that are pretty bloody good.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, like this would be an A for me easily.
This one I would give a B minus. I was,
There you go.
yeah, I was really like, I watched it the first time and I didn't think much about it. I was like, oh yeah, it was good. And then when you raved about it, I was like, oh, okay. And I was excited to watch it again. And then I was just like, huh, I don't know. I wasn't clear on what it was that blew you away about it, but all right.
It's just the sum of all the parts just worked for me.
No, that's fine. Cool. Well, this one we're a little further away, A and a B minus. But again, I still liked it. I still enjoyed it. I haven't seen an episode that I haven't enjoyed. So
Exactly. I mean, there's not a bad episode amongst them. Just some aren't as good as others. And to me, this is towards the top of the pile.
all right, cool. Well, there you have it. That's season 1, episode 7, Moving Target. We got 2 more done from Batman, Caped Crusader. That leaves 3 left. But I took your advice last time. I watched 8, but then I waited because you told me I got to watch 9 and 10 together.
Yeah, you don't want to sleep on those two.
All right, so
And that's the thing too. Because you were watching them 2 at a time, weren't you?
yeah,
And 9. So is it 9 and 10 or 10 or 11?
10, 9 and 10.
Yeah, they're a 2-parter. So you don't want to watch one that's not connected, and then you want to watch those 2 together.
Yes. Well, I'm sure we're going to do this again. Of course, now we're off, right? We would have to do like 8, 9, and 10.
I was thinking that this morning. We'd have to do three in a row.
Yeah, because we've come this far. We should finish it up.
I'd really like to, if we can, particularly for the last 2 episodes, I'd really like to get Jamie back on.
Oh, okay.
Because he and I know he caved after you guys did the first episode, and he watched all the way through to the end. Pretty quickly.
Are you guys on speaking terms again?
Well, sometimes I grit my teeth and message him.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
And yeah, I know he was a big fan of the way the series ended.
All right. Well, I'll try to make that happen, but no promises.
I know.
It's just the way it is, but we'll try. Cool. All right. 2 more episodes of Batman, Caped Crusader. And because this episode is being recorded out of order, God knows when we're going to publish it. I don't know. The only one that knows is that little baby in my wife's tummy. We're not going to do any emails or anything because, nothing timely. So I figured let's just go for it and do another episode of the Batman. Let's try to get back in the habit. So here we go. 1 more episode of the Batman. So it took me a second to figure out where we left off, but fortunately I did. We left off on season 3, episode 4, A Fistful of Felt. This one was directed by Anthony Chun. It was written by Stephen Melching, and it was released on October 8th of 2005. It was nice to go back to this. I tell you, I had to figure out where I was watching it because I feel like it was on Max, then it was off Max, then it was on Max. Now it's off again. So it's on Netflix. I had to go back to Netflix to watch it.
Speaking of Max, a little heads up for any Aussies that listen. Apparently it's launching over here partway through next year.
Interesting. Well, I guess that's good, right?
I know what it's going to look like. I mean, yeah, I guess. I'll be
don't you get everything anyway just from other places?
Kind of. I mean, we still don't have. There's a lot of stuff that you guys have on streaming that we don't, like particularly a lot of the animated stuff we just don't have. But yeah, it's one of those things because Foxtel is our pay TV provider, cable TV provider over here, and they've got the rights with HBO and stuff like that. And it just seemed very strange to me that Binge launched at around the same time that HBO Max launched over there, And I'm like, okay, well, this is effectively HBO Max, where, and it's kind of, so far it has been, in terms of that kind of content. Like if there's a Max original series, or like, CW shows and stuff like that, they go to binge. We get them on binge the same time as you guys do. But it's going to be curious, because if Max launches over here, does that mean that Foxtel will lose the HBO rights? And yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what binge looks like moving forward.
Yeah.
Because if Max gets a lot of, like, look, effectively for me, I have binge for DC content.
Mhm.
And if they're going to lose that, well, I'll be dropping binge and signing up to Max, I guess.
Well, we'll see how it
Sorry
goes.
for the
It'll be
tangent, but
interesting.
it's relevant, because I said all the comic stuff is on binge over here, so it's going to be very interesting to see what Max looks like when it launches. Because I know we've talked about it previously, where there's deals in place for streaming rights for things in different countries, and if a big player's coming over here that's not part of it, like Stan over here used to have all Disney stuff exclusively, and then Disney Plus launched and they lost it all. So
Mhm.
yeah, watch this
Well,
space.
we shall see. I wish you the best of luck. I hope it all works out for you. My point is, the Batman here is back on Netflix, so it's right to go back to watch it. And this episode of Fistful of Felt, I was a little, I feel like I got a little teased, because whenever we did the last episode, I looked ahead and I was like, oh my God, everybody's in this one. Ventriloquist, Scarface, Joker, Penguin, Hugo Strange, so many. Well, yes, but it's really a Scarface episode.
It's a ventriloquist and Scarface story.
But I appreciated that Joker and Penguin get a little cameo in Arkham. I always love
Mm-hmm.
little things like that. I think that's fun. Makes the world just feel a little more lived in, and they
Yeah.
can pop up. So I think that was cool. So what happens is the ventriloquist and Scarface get captured. They end up back in Arkham. They're doing some group therapy, and that's when the Penguin and Joker are there, and Scarface gets into it with the Penguin and with the
Well, the
Joker.
opening scene too, we see the big penny.
Oh my God, yes,
I
that's right.
can't remember if it makes its way back to the Batcave or not.
It does.
Oh,
It
does it?
does. Yeah,
I
yeah,
must have
yeah.
missed it.
Later on in the episode, Batman calls Alfred, and when it cuts to Alfred, the penny is being installed in the Batcave.
I must have looked at my phone or looked away for a couple of minutes, or I was watching this with Henry and he was asking a lot of questions. So I may have looked away for a couple of minutes to answer one of his questions. Who's this, Daddy? What's this person doing, Daddy? What are they doing, Daddy? What's his name, Daddy? Same person it was when he asked 2 seconds ago.
Well, thanks for reminding me. Yes, because the whole opening action scene is they're robbing the mint. Batman stops them, and yeah, he ends up underneath the giant penny. And yeah, then the penny shows up getting put into the Batcave later, which is really fun. I hope that they gave him permission to take it, or did he just go, it fell off the ceiling. They don't need it anymore. I'm going to take it home. But yes, this causes Ventriloquist and Scarface to end up in Arkham. They're getting treated by Hugo Strange along with Joker and Penguin. And Hugo Strange feels like he knows how to cure the ventriloquist. He takes Scarface away, he puts him away. And before long, the ventriloquist is back out there in the world performing at kids' birthday parties with his new little puppet. What the heck was his new puppet's name?
Mr.
I know, right? It was like
something like that.
I know. I want to call it. I want to say Skeets, but that's Booster Gold.
That's Booster Gold. Yeah,
that's Booster Gold. But it's something like that, right? He essentially sounds like Kermit the Frog, but he's like yellow. And so yeah, it seems like the ventriloquist is doing okay, and he's back. We also get like a little backstory for him, which I don't think we've ever gotten before. Which is he worked for this kids show, and he was like really good at entertaining the kids with his puppets. And when he fell on hard times, that's when Scarface took over, and he started committing crime and ended up, becoming the criminal that he is. So I thought that was interesting to get the little bit of backstory for the ventriloquist. That was neat.
Yeah, and I also like how they mark the passing of time in this episode too, because the episode kind of after that original scene with the penny, it shows Bruce announcing this big development that's going to be built, which is huge. And then obviously, as the episode progresses, that's where the climax takes place, and it's I think it's the opening or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah, you're
obviously
right.
it's going to take at least a year or two for this giant thing to be built. So,
And it was called some sort of dome, right?
Mhm.
Like, and so I thought it was going to be some sort of like sports complex, but then when it all culminates there, it seems like it's more of a museum.
Yeah, like a it's an interesting one.
Anyway,
There's
so
like a
yes,
sports museum side to it, and I think it's just like a big cultural precinct, is what I sort of took from it.
yeah. So Batman's not sure if the ventriloquist is really rehabilitated, so he's following him around a little bit. And then he goes as Bruce to talk to Hugo Strange to just try and feel it out. And Hugo Strange is like, oh, yeah, you know what? He's totally safe as long as Scarface never shows back up. And sure enough, Scarface shows back up because Hugo Strange is playing them all. And he plants Scarface back in Wesker's
And see,
apartment.
that twist I did see coming.
Good. Good. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. I thought Hugo Strange was a good guy. This is an A plus. They blew my mind.
They don't even try to hide the fact that Hugo Strange is bad in this.
I will say this is the first time I've watched a Hugo Strange episode where I realized it was Frank Gorshin. So I was listening for it and I was like, oh wow. Like, because it's so different than what we're used to from Gorshin. But then when you're listening for it, you could totally hear like the older Gorshin. And another cool thing about this episode is it has Adam West and Frank Gorshin together.
Does too.
Which made me happy. But yeah, so Hugo Strange is playing them all. Scarface shows back up. He beats up the new puppet. It takes off his eye. And they're off again to cause more trouble. And like you said, it all culminates in this dome that they're at. And Scarface is like, somebody's tipping these people off. And there's a reason the cops showed up, and he says, no, it was Wesker. Wesker, you turned us in. And so they're his two henchmen, Rhino and Muggsy. And I love that at a certain point, they're dressed up in like kids' costumes.
Yeah.
So one is dressed as a flower and the other one's dressed as a dinosaur. And it tickled me to see Batman fighting like the big sunflower and the big dinosaur.
Yeah.
But when Scarface is like, okay, we have to kill Wesker. And these guys just keep looking at each other, be like, wait, what? Like, how's that going to work? And they're like, okay, I guess. Yeah, that made me laugh. I got a good laugh on that is when, Scarface is like, we're going to kill the ventriloquist.
Look, and that's the thing. I know, I'm sure we talked about it in Batman the Animated Series. It might have even been when Scarface was in this series earlier. Like, I know you're not a Scarface ventriloquist fan. It's so difficult because the gimmick is pretty stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just something, I don't know how to make it cooler. It's like Two-Face, but to the nth degree, where you've got the guy controlling the puppet who is so nice and gentle and such a pacifist and just a sweetheart of an old guy, but then the puppet is so friggin' evil. Like, it's that side of it is cool. Like, I like how it is such a split personality. It really, like Jekyll and Hyde again to the nth degree. I just don't know a way to make the execution cooler, if that makes sense. Like, because at the end of the day, it is a guy in a puppet. Like, it's pretty dumb. But there's something there that I like. I just wish there was a different way they could execute it.
Right. No, I think that's fair. And I think that's why it's never quite worked for me, is because it's like, there's like, how do you make it work? And I think that they've tried, I think BTAS did a decent job, and I think this show is doing its darndest.
Deanie's obviously a fan, because when he was doing Detective, Scarface showed up a lot. And that they had the new ventriloquist too. Like, I think it was like a hot blonde from memory, but it's Scarface.
Was Bruce Timm also involved?
I don't think so, no.
Bruce Timm's like, make her hot.
Make the puppets fuck.
What if Scarface has an affair with Annabelle?
But yeah, watching this last night, and particularly like when it came like the two puppets fighting and stuff, it's like you really feel sorry for Wesker. Like he's not a well man. If he can just get away from these puppets, he's so
I
nice. He's
know.
such a
He's doing
sweet
okay.
dude. Like you'd have him over to play with your kids. It's just like like I said, there's just that element that's really, really cool. It's just I don't know a way to execute it where it's as cool.
Yeah. Well, Batman goes and gets the new puppet, whose name we are both blanking on. And it turns out it was him who turned them in. And you just mentioned the other time I had a huge laugh is there's Wesker on the train tracks. So they end up at the set of the old children's show, which I also
Yes,
thought was a very
which is still
cool.
standing.
And the train still works. Yep. But I like that that's where it all culminates. I think that was really cool. And they're on the train tracks because that's how they're going to kill Wesker. And he's got Scarface on one hand, and then he's got the new puppet on the other hand, and the two puppets are fighting.
Like,
and
yeah.
I laughed so hard. I was like, this is so ridiculous, but it's funny, and I like it.
Yes.
It's pure nonsense, but I was very entertained. And so yeah, so they fight. Batman manages to stop the train and then restart the train, and Wesker gets away, but Scarface and I think the new puppet, I think they both get destroyed by the train, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's okay now. The puppets are gone. And Batman confronts Hugo Strange, and he's like, I know you're the one who planted Scarface. And he said, well, I have to make sure that he was cured. And he's like, I got my eye on you, Hugo Strange. And that's it. Really, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say this. Much like I am not a huge Scarface fan, I'm also not a huge Hugo Strange fan. He's never really done much for me as a character, especially when he is a lone villain. I like him the way he's used here, where he is an added element in the mix with other villains and other characters. I think this is the right way to use it.
And it's like Batman the Animated Series when he works out who Batman is and tries to auction off the video. Like that's my favorite Hugo Strange story in any medium. I love that story.
Yeah.
Because it incorporates other villains, and it's a really great and fun episode.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I agree. So yeah, I like him as a supporting player like this, where he is another little monkey in the wrench, right? But he's not. I don't like it when it's like if Batman versus Hugo Strange, because it's like, well, yeah, that's easy. So, but I thought this was well done. But anyway, yeah, overall thoughts of this episode.
Yeah, like you said, it was fun. It had its lighthearted moments, and like I said before, it shows that dynamic with the ventriloquist and the puppets that it's really twisted. But when you boil it down, it's still a guy and a puppet, and you can't overcome that just to give it that little bit of edge. But it was good. Like it was a good fun episode. This one I'd probably land on like a maybe solid B.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, especially for not being a huge Scarface fan. Like I still thought it was entertaining, and it was a nice little twist on these characters. So I had a really good time with it.
I'd like to mention too, again, just adding to the absurdity of it, when the villains were in like the kids' mascot costumes.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see their faces, like they're not good costumes, but Scarface was wearing the orange puppet as like a mascot costume, like he was undercover as well. And you can clearly see his face, and the kid goes up to talk to the orange puppet, and Scarface is like, kid, you lay a hand on me and I will destroy you.
Yeah.
And the kid just like stares at him for a second, then, mommy. It's so dumb, but it's so funny.
Yeah, that's just it, is I think that there is a lot of that in this episode, but it's silly and it's funny. But
for what the episode is, I
was entertained. Awesome. Well, yeah, I'd go with you on the B for this one.
Nice.
A Fistful of Felt. Okay, well, another episode of the Batman. We're back, baby. I hope you're happy, Richard. Wherever you are out there, this one's for you. I hope no one else listened except you, Richard. So the next one, whenever we get to it, a year or two from now, it's called RPM, featuring Gearhead.
Which I did watch last night because we were eating dinner and we hadn't finished, and I didn't want to put the Gentleman Ghost episode on straight away with Henry because it's like that one might be a bit heavy. So we watched that one. Spoiler alert, not my favorite. However, there is a Batman Legacy cast in there. Do you know who voices Gearhead?
No.
Will Friedle.
Oh, that's fun. So yeah, I don't remember Gearhead from the first time I watched the series, so that will be new to me next time, whenever that happens. But there you have it. 3 animated episodes in just about an hour or so. So thanks for watching some cartoons with me today, Brendan.
Oh, always happy to watch some cartoons, even more so when it's with you.
Oh, thanks. Well,
obviously spiritually, not physically.
But... I know. Maybe someday. Maybe that day will come. Well, all right. I think it's time to wrap up, but we'll get back together soon. We got to finish out Cape Crusader. You know,
Absolutely.
We're in that home stretch, so we got to do it again. But until then, what you been up to? Where can we find you?
You can find me in the Real Fans groups, knee deep in Scarathon at the moment.
Oh, you took the dive.
Yeah, I've taken the dive for the last few years.
Last time you were like, I was kind of scary movied out, so I'm not going as hard. Remember?
Oh, I'm still not going as cry. I'm still only up to think of like 26 or 27.
Well, that's still pretty hard.
But I mean, this time last year, I was like into the 50s. Like I said, I cracked over 100 last year. I did 104. Yeah, I'm not trying. I'm still going to watch as many as I can, but I'm not even trying to hit the number that I hit last year because it was just absurd. It was just crazy. I was punching out like sometimes 3 or 4 movies a day while I was working from home.
That's madness.
Yeah, I'm not. Mind you, I did a lot of the Universal monster movies last year too, and like they're like some of them are like 60, 70 minutes. Yeah, so that helped pump those numbers up. But yeah
I did 70 last year. 70. I just had to check because I was curious.
I think this year might be a more realistic. Like I'm thinking, it's almost the end of September now, and I'm in that mid-20s, so I'm thinking like between 50 to 70. I think is probably where I'll end up this year as well. Yeah. And I'm reading a lot more this year too, so I'm reading spooky books as well, and yeah.
Well,
just
excellent.
Generally having a blast.
Same. I'm doing the same. I'm home with a toddler and a pregnant wife, so I'm watching more than I normally would. Normally, October, I'm very busy, out and about, doing stuff, but not right now. So I get to watch a lot, decorating the house, wondering if the haunt's going to happen this year based on a baby. But I already told you where to find me.
Be scary enough without a haunt happening with a toddler and a new baby and a mother-in-law.
Ha ha. But yeah, so Letterboxd is where I keep track of my Scarathon. So I just finished watching all 5 Insidious movies, which I had a blast doing that. That was cool. So yeah, I'm not sure where I'm jumping to next. We shall see. But anyway, it's a good time of year. It's always fun. But thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. Thanks for downloading or streaming the show. Please do follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We would love that. That way you never miss an episode. And something else that you can do to help us out that would mean the world. Doesn't cost a penny. All it costs is about a minute of your day. Just rate and review us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. That would make me very happy. It would make me feel very good. Again, you can find the show on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. We are not doing the Wayne Manor mailbox on this episode because, again, it's out of order. But if you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox for one of the normal in continuity episodes, whatever, you can send those emails to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but Gaurav and his wife just welcomed an adorable baby girl.
Aw, congratulations.
So, Gaurav, congratulations to you and your wife and your new little one. She is gorgeous, and I'm so happy for you guys. So happy. Enjoy every minute of it. We love you. And, it's the best time in the world, so I'm just thinking of you guys. But anyway, sorry, that's it for this episode. On behalf of Brendan, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. Well, that's okay. We got to catch up.
Got the preamble out the way.
Yeah, and I got to miss 15 minutes of Inside Out too, so it's a win all around.